The top 5
Because it should have been said that a long time ago.
most controversial
Are people going to be pissed off? Absolutely.
wrestling card releases.
This, my friends, is a shoot.
What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Anytime there's a disagreement or controversy within the hobby, generally it's centered around specific cards. And that generally takes center stage within the collecting community. And whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you love this, whether you hate it, oftentimes out of these arguments, discussions, conversations, however you want to look at it, comes some very, very valuable discussions that can actually benefit collectors going forward and information that we get moving forward with some of these card sets. And today we're going to go over what, in my opinion, are the top 5 most controversial wrestling card releases, sets, whatever you want to word that, of all time. But per usual, with these top 5 videos, we can't start unless we have an honorable mention. Honorable mention, 1997 Panini WWF Superstars stickers. Remember these things? I remember when these things a few years ago seemingly came out of nowhere, first discovered, and people just kind of flocked to them. Reason being, they were trying to pull that rookie card, sticker, whatever, of The Rock. Many people were considering this his first true rookie because it came before the 98 comic images. It was pack pulled. It was an official WWF product. It came from Panini, so hey, that's a legit company. And initially, they did sell for quite a bit. However, when we saw more supply come available, and coincidentally, I think when we saw more of the modern Panini releases start coming out, we started seeing the sales on those 97s kind of go down. And in my opinion, this is a poster child example of cashing in on the market when the market's hot. I did hear a lot of people within the community talking about these things. And it wasn't just the Rock stickers. We saw, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, I think China maybe had one in there. And of course, like Undertaker and some other superstars that were in this set. Obviously, The Rock was the main chase, but people are also grading these other things and saying, oh, this is the first Attitude Era stuff because 97. But I did hear a lot of people talking about this isn't going to last. Wait, there's nothing inherently rare about these. The supply is going to kick up. Now, I wasn't personally saying, I was kind of in the middle, but I did hear a lot of people saying that. And hey, they were right. It also brings up the fact that you can kind of put into question the long-term, I guess, not collectability, but value and kind of, are these going to continue to be sought after? Let's specifically zone in on The Rock here since that was the main chase. These, I think, initially were harder to find than a lot of the other things. But, it goes back to that old argument of Pop Report. Pop 2, none higher. Pop 1, none higher. There's none available in the Pop Report. And we saw that those early Rocks, whether they were PSA 10s, 9s, 8, like whatever, they were some of the first ones graded. So when those came out, there weren't a lot of them out there. So people were flocking to them, opening those wallets, and they had to get this Rock rookie sticker in that higher grade. But as we've seen numerous times, you can't bank on a Pop 1 none higher being the same as a true 1 of 1. So remember that as we go forward in this video talking about some other, kind of hot button, hot topic sets and controversial cards, as well as when you see people kind of, I guess, push their cards for sale. Oh, it's a Pop 1 none higher, bro. I got to get this. Well, it might be a Pop 1, but 5 years down the road, it could be, Pop 100. We just don't know. And that's what I don't personally care for as much if you're discussing the rarity of a 1 of 1 versus a Pop 1. Number 5, 2006 WWE Topps Chrome Heritage. Now, up to this point when this set was released, we had seen chromium wrestling cards before, but we hadn't got that official Topps Chrome logo on anything. Well, I say anything, you know what I mean, of wrestling cards. And that, my friends, is where the argument and controversy begins with this set. The official Topps Chrome logo, it's right there on the card. The same Topps Chrome logo that was on other Topps Chrome products within other sports card releases. But yet people continue to argue that this isn't an official Topps Chrome product, which, okay, the logo's there. And most of the arguments come that it's the 2014 Topps Chrome WWE that is the official first WWE Chrome product. And I think the people that are kind of discounting this 2006 set as being the first WWE Chrome release, I think there are 2 talking points that you could kind of look to for their argument. Number 1 being that heritage name. And I think a lot of people look at that and they think that's not real Topps Chrome. So maybe, maybe not. All I know is the logo is right there and it doesn't say heritage within the actual official Topps Chrome logo. But number 2 may be the more valid thing, and that is because this is a Topps Chrome product that doesn't have the traditional parallels, specifically gold, that a lot of these collectors are going after. And another reason, it kind of goes with the parallels, is the superfractor structure. We've seen most of these come out, they're numbered to 25. Traditionally, most superfractors put out by Topps are 1/1s. And then there are also those other superfractors that have kind of surfaced out of this set that are unnumbered, so that kind of puts some questions into things. So I could see why people would look at all of those things and be like, okay, it might have that Chrome logo on it, but it's not officially Topps Chrome because it doesn't fit this narrative that Topps has always done in these other products. And in 2014, we see that and moving forward with that. So I get both sides of the arguments here, and that's why it stirs up controversy. Number 4, All In. Many wrestling card collectors look at this set as one of the first AEW kind of adjacent sets. And I guess you could say that. But for me, the real reason that this set makes that top 5 most controversial wrestling card sets or releases is because, in my opinion, this set really spawned the interest in indie cards. Now, don't get me wrong, this set is far from the first indie card set. They go all the way back to the 90s or maybe even the 80s if you want to consider some of the questionable releases as indie cards. Maybe because they featured territory stars or weren't released by official companies. There's all kinds of arguments you could make. Oh, wait, imagine that. Arguments within wrestling cards and controversy, huh? But again, it's about the buzz that this set created. It created for AEW and it created for more indie cards. As people realize, I like that WWE top stuff. It's okay. I don't mind watching WWE, but I like indie. Where are my indie cards? And then they see All In and they start going and digging and looking at some of these other indie card sets. And within indie cards and this set specifically, we have all kinds of arguments. We have some collectors out here claiming rookie cards on many of these because it's the first appearance cards of some of the biggest names in modern wrestling in indie card sets. On the flip side, we have some collectors out there claiming just the opposite, that hey, these aren't even real cards because they're not pack pulled, they're not official releases. They were made in someone's basement. And then kind of combining the, I guess, frustrating factor or confusion with some of these indie cards is the fact that a lot of grading companies are just now getting around to grading some of these things and still won't grade certain things. And when you can't get all of the grading companies on board to grade something, like you could a Topps Chrome, like we just talked about, the Heritage or the 14 Chrome, you could send that stuff in and the grading companies are going to grade it, no questions asked. But when you send in these indie cards or these one-off cards put out by Pro Wrestling Junkies or Pro Wrestling Tees or Loot Crate or whatever it is, a lot of these grading companies are going to look at that and question the authenticity. Did somebody just print this on their computer? Again, arguments all the way around on indie cards that you could, poke holes at. Again, that's what stirs up the controversy. But I didn't really start seeing a lot of that talk and chatter until this All In set came out, which then kind of opened the floodgates to indie cards, in my opinion. Number 3, 1982-83 Wrestling All-Stars. I would say that the majority of wrestling card collectors out there do kind of consider this the, I don't know if I want to say top tier, but like if you're looking at wrestling cards and like what is the most popular set, what is the most, I guess I could use the word holy grail it is for a lot of people, they point to the Wrestling All-Stars. At the same time, some people think this stuff is junk.
That was stupid. It ain't gonna draw a dime.
This set within the wrestling card community has spurred a lot of discussion, arguments, and sometimes outright hatred. There are many collectors that look at this set as having key iconic rookie cards of some of the biggest names in wrestling history. And just like indie cards, we can kind of tie that back in with what we just talked about. And, the argument of these aren't official pack pulled. These aren't from a legitimate company like a Panini or an Upper Deck or even a Leaf. So they're not real cards. They don't count. And you also have some people in that crowd that are so beholden to a modern product of, I hear the argument all the time about how vintage isn't as fun because you can't go buy cases. And like, I understand that, but it's about the cards. So my initial thought with that is, okay, these people are not maybe as in love with the wrestling cards themselves, but maybe that dopamine hit of the rip itself. Therefore, they gravitate to the more modern product, which, hey, nothing wrong with that. But that's some of the controversy that this set can create within the community. And hey, let's face it, some people just don't like dusty, old, cardboard-looking thing. I didn't mean that as a Dusty Rhodes plug either. But some people just don't like vintage stuff. They like modern, they like shiny, they like numbered, and that is fine. But the problem comes from when the people that are doing that are voicing their opinion so hard against Wrestling All-Stars or vintage that it creates problems. There's a lot of things I don't like about modern. There's a lot of things I don't like about vintage. I could kind of, I guess, fit in both camps, not because I'm trying to play Switzerland, but just because I see both arguments, and I'm not such a hardline stance on one or the other. And on the flip side, you've got some wrestling all-stars collectors out there, diehards, that, you know, love what they do, love those cards, and they look at modern kind of, you know, below them as well. And I don't think that's right either. But needless to say, everything I just talked about, it's what stirs up controversy. Number 2, 1998-99 Topps WCW autographs. There have definitely been wrestling card sets come out prior to this that had autographs in them. And, you know, a lot of people will look at like the Action Packed as having those first pack pulled. But I think there was like a 1990 or 91 or maybe even 92 like Legend set that had more autographs in them than those Action Packed. So the stuff has been out before this. But this specific set and these 2 years really set it off. Maybe not at the time, but current day, it's a lot to take in. The design of these cards is nice and clean. The pictures are cool. I love the autograph space. It's a more basic design, but I think it really works. This set contains some of the biggest names in wrestling, specifically WCW during that Attitude Era, but also features some great cult favorites, such as Damien or Tough Tom. But along the way of collecting, we've seen a lot of stories, a lot of lore, and a lot of questionable things come out about not only these cards themselves, but also the autographs that are on them. And in my opinion, it's gotten a little crazy, the lengths that people are going to try to dispel myths of this is real, or maybe push the other way and be like, this is why this is fake. But you know what? I guess ultimately, that's what we love about the wrestling card community, that kind of die-hard persistence and passion that people are willing to go to either get that information out there, prove something right, prove something wrong. And I guess at the end of the day, in the long run, the long tail of the hobby, that detective work that people want to go out there and do with their own time, that's great. It will help out other collectors in the future. But for the time being, and all leading up till this set has stirred up so much controversy. Number 1, WWE Prism and Upper Deck AEW Flagship First Series. Haha!
Oh.
So yes, this is actually 2 different sets within the number 1 spot. I put them as a tie because of their overall hobby impact. Upper Deck was the first to market between the two with their 2022 flagship AEW product. We talked about All In earlier. These are the first official AEW cards with like a set, packs, etc. And when they came out, and even to this day, people seem to enjoy them. Then along came WWE Prism and poured fuel on the fire that was that AEW release. Prism Gold and Black One of Ones, all of a sudden those become the huge chases and the big ticket item. But there are 2 things that stand out to me with these 2 releases. Number 1, they created buzz. People that didn't participate in the hobby, be it wrestling fans that didn't collect cards yet, or be it people that are within the hobby that still did not recognize wrestling as official cards. That's that non-sport stuff, you know. All of a sudden, these people are getting into breaks, they're buying cases, and they're loving wrestling. And when you look at kind of the fallout of that, you could say, oh, well, that was a bad thing. That created shilling, that created false pricing, pumping and dumping. People that didn't know anything about wrestling cards coming in here and trying to make a quick buck. But overall, I think these were actually positive because it brought more people and more eyeballs into wrestling cards. We had never seen that before. And sure, a lot of that stuff was not great. But at the end of the day, if it brought more people into the hobby, like, what can you say? And the second thing that really I want to talk about within these sets is the firestorm that it created within the wrestling card community, the arguments and the hatred. Now, I've never been a person that says, hey, we've all got to get along, or that you have to collect things a certain way, or do things a certain way, or buy things a certain way. But this stuff got out of control very fast and still continues to this day. I guess people just don't have enough things going on in their life that they need to sit on social media and argue. I know this isn't just strictly a wrestling card thing, but it boggles my mind. Like, I don't have time to sit on and argue, oh, Prism's better than All Stars or whatever. Like, okay, if that's how you like to spend your time, I guess. But we had many people, again, and to this day, doing the same thing, drawing the line in the sand here. Drawing the line in the sand over their view on these new products, their overall sales numbers, their popularity, and would that popularity kind of survive. And of course, the longevity and how that relates to vintage cards, which have been kind of the big ticket items we'd seen up to that point of these two releases. And when you look back at all of the wrestling card releases that I've talked about today, you have to notice one thing that they all have in common. They are all firsts of their kind. The first set to have massive autographs, the first set to have numbered cards, black one of ones, golds, the first shiny cards, the first sets of specific companies. So I ask, like, what does that say about us as collectors in a community? Maybe it's that we don't like change until we do. Maybe it's that us as hobby participants and that initial resistance that we have to something that's new, maybe we need to kind of reevaluate how we view things when they initially come out. Some people love these sets and they have since day one. Others completely hate them. And others, well, they're kind of in the middle, or maybe they did change their stance one way or another as they've kind of learned more and participated more within the communities and the collecting of the cards themselves. But at the end of the day, these wrestling card sets that I've talked about have created controversy. They get people talking. They spark up debates, conversations, arguments sometimes, and at the end of the day, from an eyeballs perspective and a marketing perspective, that's really what it's all about. Now, I know some people will say they don't want that in the hobby, and hey, you know what? If you just want to rip your packs, buy your singles on eBay, sit in your basement, collect your cards by yourself, nothing wrong with that. The hobby in general is a little bit more of a solitary activity to partake in, right? But once this really started getting into social media, it was really fun to interact with other collectors and form private group chats or private groups on Discord or whatever it is. It's just fun to interact. But with that, again, comes controversy. But one time, I think there's a pretty popular wrestling personality out there, pretty smart guy, and I think he said something along these lines as well.
Controversy creates cash.
What did you think about today's video, all the wrestling card sets that I talked about? Do you think they're controversial? Let me know by leaving a comment below. And when you're done doing that, make sure to check out all of the links in the show notes for all the other ways you can help show your support to keep this content coming out and to support everything that I do. Links to my eBay store, links to Patreon, all my social platforms, and much more. If today's video brought you some value or stirred up some controversy for you, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and spread the word. Tell a friend about this channel, about anything else that I'm out there doing within wrestling cards. And once again, not to stir up controversy, but to just get more eyeballs and more people collecting within the hobby. Until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. Maybe it stirs up controversy, maybe it doesn't, but it's all in the archives of this channel. I appreciate your time. Have a great day. See you then.